All right. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That's giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh. Ba'ashem, and coming in the name of Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ. Gusano, I'm from the dirt, and I remember where I'm from. All praises. Let's get to it, family. This is Columbus, the Conquest, and the Covenant Curses, Part 6. The Covenant Curses fulfilled, robbed people, and final condition. Historical evidence. A people left, few in number. In a short account of the destruction of the Indies, Las Casas repeatedly emphasizes that entire island populations were devastated within a short period after Spanish arrival. He describes Hispaniola and surrounding islands as once heavily populated, later becoming nearly emptied through warfare, forced labor, starvation, and disease. While exact population numbers are debated by modern historians, there is broad agreement that indigenous populations in the Caribbean experienced catastrophic collapse within decades of Columbus' arrival. Deuteronomy 28:62, and ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye are as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of Yahweh thy God. This prophecy describes a dramatic reduction of population from a great multitude to a small remnant. It reflects national collapse after judgment. Historical evidence: a people robbed and spoiled. Las Casas described indigenous communities as being stripped of land, labor, freedom, and life itself. Gold, cotton, food, and human labor were extracted while the native population received little protection or compensation. Christopher Columbus himself, in the Diario, preserved through Las Casas, frequently emphasizes gold acquisition and resource extraction as central goals of colonization. Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore. This describes a people who are taken captive, deprived of freedom, and left without a deliverer. Their condition is exploitation without restitution, right? Without even, no one's defending this people, right? More historical evidence: fear, sorrow, and psychological collapse. Las Casas writes that indigenous survivors lived under constant fear of Spanish raids, forced labor, quotas, and punishments. Entire communities were psychologically broken, constantly fleeing or hiding to avoid capture or death. Deuteronomy 28 and 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. This describes a condition of continuous fear and distress, where life becomes dominated by anxiety over survival. You're constantly on the run. Imagine the psychiatric punishment these people went through, the psychological, Salakia, the psychological punishment our people went through, right? Every day just trying to constantly flee or hide just to avoid being tortured, right? More historical evidence: enslavement, tribute, and forced production. The Spanish imposed systems requiring indigenous people to produce gold, cotton, and labor under strict quotas. Failure often resulted in punishment, violence, or death. These systems tied survival directly to forced productivity. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. This prophecy describes complete subjugation under enemy rule, where basic necessities of life are controlled by oppressors. Again, I'm using a specific set of scriptures throughout this series and emphasizing what those scriptures mean. And a lot of us, sometimes we don't really understand or have the knowledge or wisdom or understanding to break these scriptures down. But when you put them together with history, with all that these conquistadors, these chroniclers wrote down, you get a better vision. You get to really understand how these scriptures correlate to the children of Israel specifically. All praises. More historical evidence. No deliverer and continued oppression. Las Casas repeatedly emphasizes that indigenous peoples had no external power to defend them. European rivals did not intervene to stop Spanish abuses in the early stages of colonization, leaving native populations vulnerable. Right? Remember, Isaiah 42 and 22 describes the people what? Robbed and spoiled, imprisoned, therefore praying, no one restores them, right? And this is why we must follow the laws of God and have faith in him and his son, because we need to do all that we can, follow the laws of the Most High God, and endure through whatever we're going to go through until the very end. The only thing that is going to save us is divine intervention. We cannot go to war with anyone. We are a people robbed, spoiled. We're not even a people, right? We have no army, we have no kingdom, we have no government. We are for prey till this day. And the scriptures say that these curses would be for a sign so that we can identify who the children of Israel are today. The children of Israel today do not have an army, but everyone else does. Now, let's continue. This aligns with the condition Las Casas describes: systematic exploitation without protection or justice. More historical evidence. Long-term consequences. The aftermath of Columbus' arrival and early Spanish colonization produced collapse of indigenous Caribbean societies, replacement of communities with forced labor systems, long-term demographic destruction, cultural disruption and fragmentation, introduction of transatlantic slavery systems that expanded beyond the Caribbean. These changes reshaped the entire Atlantic world. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. But we're already in that land, so why would we need ships? Unless this is talking about this land over here, right? Egypt means bondage. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No one can save us. Only God. Only God can save us. Because God is going to give the order that's going to send his son down here to do the job, right? This describes forced transportation, enslavement, and sale into bondage in a foreign land, emphasizing maritime captivity and loss of return. Across Columbus' arrival and early Spanish colonization, the historical record, including Columbus' own journal and Las Casas writings, describes initial contact with peaceful indigenous peoples, rapid shift toward exploitation and extraction, forced labor systems and tribute demands, enslavement and transportation of captives, mass death through violence, overwork and collapse, population devastation in the Caribbean, long-term displacement and loss of sovereignty. These events are well documented in early colonial sources. Through scholars, those scholars differ on interpretation. scale estimates, and theological application. The biblical passages used here are part of a religious framework of interpretation. They are not part of mainstream historical analysis, right? But you see how these biblical scriptures correlate and match so well the things that these indigenous people were going through. It's insane. And this is all, what I'm doing here is I'm taking the historical evidence, right? The books written by these chroniclers that wrote down, what they saw and what was going on, and the diary of Christopher Columbus himself, right, admitting to these atrocities, right? So, the information is the family, what you will with it, right? But I only do this to edify the sheep, man. I love y'all, right? So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shah. That's giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh. Bashim, meaning coming in the name of, and Yahweh Shah, who the world calls Jesus Christ. Shalom, and I love y'all, family.